Hello and welcome to my finishes section of this little Flosstube session I'm having today. I thought I'd show you some of the finishes that I haven't quite got around to either giving away or hanging on the wall or have framed, and to also show you my only Chatelaine finish despite the number of works in progress I've got. So you won't get to see me today, which is probably for the best, but I thought it would be good to show you some of the projects that I've got here that are all finished and desperately need something doing with them. So this is my first finish. This is Chatelaine Grapekeeper thread book, I think is what it's called. As you can see, it's like a needlework book. It's got quite a heavily beaded front on it, and when Martina released the design, she also worked with a jewellery company to produce a brooch to go on the front, and I bought it at the time and then attached it when I was finished. So that's the front of the book. It's obviously initialed and hopefully ready to hand down to my daughter when I'm old and grey. So this is the inside of the book. It's got a loop loops for hanging your embroidery thread on, and you can see I finished it quite a long time ago and don't ever really use it, which I know is terrible. It's also got a little tiny needle keep book inside as well, with ribbons, which is lovely, and it's got a pocket inside for you to put your cross stitch patterns, and the back is covered with like a green velvet. It's really lovely. I actually found it really easy to make up afterwards as well, and I made a tassel. All the instructions were great. It was from Judy Odell, who I think is called, her company's called Just a Thought, and she made the finishing kit and the instructions, and as I say, highly recommended, really straightforward, and something I'll be sort of treasuring forever really. So that's that one. Then on to my Mirabella finishes. So my first one, and the only one I've got framed and hanging in my house, is Emerald Mermaid, and I stitched her pretty much as she was, didn't make any substitutions for the floss. She's stitched on a Sunny Dyes fabric, I can't remember the name, but it's sort of a mottled blue colour. I'll zoom in a little bit and hopefully you can see I switched out her beads for Delicas, just purely because at that point I was quite new to stitching. I was finding the Mill Hill beads, the unevenness of them all quite challenging, so I swapped them out, and I found it quite nice. The only problem is it doesn't quite look like bubbles, I know, coming off her there, and some of the colours weren't quite the same as the Mill Hills, but I really enjoyed using them. And when it came to pieces like this, where it's really sort of stacked with beads, they sat much better. But I really enjoyed her. She was my first Mirror Mermaid, and as I say, it sort of started off a bit of a love affair really. Absolutely loved the designs and wanted to stitch loads more. So that's that one. I'm just going to flip these over as we go. Next one is Nora Corbett's Reindeer. This one is Dasher, I believe. I'll check the details and just make corrections below. Absolutely love the reindeers, would love to stitch them all one day. As you can see, loads of sparklies and beads in this one. Again, this one is all the recommended DMC and threads. I actually used the Magnifica Mill Hills this time. They were absolutely lovely. I inherited a rather large box of Swarovski bicones from a dear friend of mine, and I've been working my way through those, so I have no idea what colour these ones are. I just found the ones that I liked and stuck them on afterwards. So the fabric is a crafty kitten fabric. I believe it's called April Showers, and it's a 32 count even weave. And I'm going to stitch them all on the same. I've bought enough bits to do them all. So that's that one. The next piece is Holly by Nora Corbett as well, and this is one of her Pixie designs. This was a gift from my Mirabella Secret Santa. I absolutely adored her, and I stitched her within about 10 days of getting her from in the Secret Santa exchange. I'm quite unoriginal. I like using the recommended floss and fabric and beads. This one is just on a plain white even weave, and I'm hoping you can see she's got a few sparkles in the fabric as well. Absolutely adorable little pixie. and the definition on the holly beads is really good. Nora only uses sort of 3 or 4 colours, but you get a lot of definition in there. I'm really sorry about the camera work, but I'm trying to give you as best sort of overview as I can. But yeah, she's one of my favourites, and I'd like to stitch her, finish her into a flat fold. So that's my next mission, is to go and find some videos on YouTube. So that's Holly. The next one is Cherry Blossom, and this one's been stitched 1.5 times. I started it on a piece of fabric, absolutely hideous to stitch on. Luckily I had a very dear friend at the retreat who adopted her and finished her off, but this is my one on Sparkly's Lavender Mist. And again, she's got a fab butterfly wings on this one, which I love, with little bits. I'm just trying to zoom in a bit, with little bits of Krennic thread and lots of beads, which I really love. And there's lots of pretty details on all the way down on her dress and all the way around the outside. And again, really pretty. There's lots of people who've stitched loads of pixies, and I would dearly love to be the same, but I need to do a few more bigger designs first. So that's Cherry Blossom. The next one I've stitched, and I mentioned this before, I'm a bit of a sucker for sets, is Sunrise, Lagana Sunrise Mermaid, and there's a sunset version as well. Wasn't sure about the border, so I left off the 4 corner motifs for this one. As you can see, she's got some beautiful shades of orange and teal in this one. Sorry, it's just started raining outside and there's loads of cars going past. And she's got a little boat in her hand, which is adorable. Again, I stitched her on white linen this time, white Belfast, April Belfast, and for such a little design, there's such a lot of beads, and it took me absolutely ages, this one. And it's really pretty. There's 2 water lilies in this as well for the blue purple flowers, so it's really lovely. So that's that one. Then I've got Royal Holiday. Let's zoom her out a bit. There we go, this is Royal Holiday. And this one's a bit of a labour of love. Took me an absolute age to finish her. The reason being is I started, and I'm going to just zoom in on her head a bit, I started her sort of cloak, the white bits, in Whisper thread. I don't know how many of you have had the pleasures of Whisper thread, but it is torture, and I got really annoyed and really upset and didn't ever want to finish her. I spotted a very clever person on one of the Mirabella groups who'd switched out the Whisper for a Rainbow Gallery Petite Very Velvet in white, and I did the same. Half stitches, it's stitched up incredibly quickly, gives it this lovely velvety finish. I'm just going to track all the way down so you can see it, and gives it this lovely velvet effect. Much easier, much less stressful, and because it's only half stitch, and there's some more over here somewhere, because it's half stitch, 10 stitch, there we go, because it's 10 stitch, it's very quick. So yeah, so one of my favourites, and I've used the motif, the candle, to stitch cards for people for Christmas because it's so pretty. And again, loads and loads of beads in this one. And again, amber linen, very plain, Belfast, in the days before I discovered. So the next one we're going to have a look at, and this is a surprise to me as well, which one it is Fairy Moon. And again, this is one of Nora's earlier pieces. This one truly has so many beads. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I didn't stitch the moon. I'm totally burnt out with all the beads, which are just the most beautiful things, but couldn't hack the moon, so left it off. But her dress is just so huge, loads of white, and all these beautiful, I'll try and zoom in a bit, all these beautiful blue beads as well. She's got the nicest wings on the fairies, I think, lovely greeny blue, turquoisey sort of colour. And again, she's got a really pretty face. The only thing that really bugs me about this design, and someone told me, and once I saw it I couldn't not see it, is that it looks like she's got her middle finger stuck up while she's holding her magic wand. Perhaps it's just me, but I might have to go back and just retweak that, because it sort of bugs me now, and I wouldn't want to have her framed and then that sort of haunt me forevermore. So she's a really pretty one. Definitely recommend to stitch. The top half stitched up really, really quickly. Her cloak and her wings, everything, her hair, and the dress was a bit more epic. But yeah, lovely project. Really enjoyed stitching that one. And that is on Wood Violet Jabelan 28 count. And again, it's just a normal Zweigart fabric. Next one is Bluebeard Princess. I took a bit of a risk with this one and stitched her on a fabric that I probably wouldn't have chosen otherwise. It's a fabric called Twilight Shadows, and it's a Jabelan by Crafty Kitten. I just absolutely love the fabric. She's a bit tweaked because on the original design it doesn't have the east and the west markers. I added those in, and you'll see why in a minute, because I stitched Gypsy Mermaid as well, and I wanted the two to hang on the wall together. So I've done them on the same fabric, and I cloned these two markers here just so that the two designs looked very similar. It makes it look a little bit crowded and busy, but I wanted the two to match, and I just literally, I'll just show you, I just took the bottom design, this one, and I cloned it here and just flipped it over and copied the west and the east from Gypsy Mermaid. This one I subbed out the beads. The Magnificas, it was going to be exorbitant to stitch with their beads, so I subbed them out and I just used pretty much whatever I had in my stash at the time. And I think it came out okay. I also left off all the beads at the top of her hair because I felt like it was going to get a bit busy. Oh, I'm more busy than it already is. And I absolutely love those little seahorses, and they're so cute. Really, really adorable. So yeah, one of my favourites definitely. And again, have a big stash of bicones, so I just used what I had and subbed them in. Use the recommended water lilies for the two river sections at her back. So yeah, so that's her. I think my camera's just going to refocus on her. So that's her, and this is her sister. So this is Gypsy. There we go. So again, she's got the north, south, east and west on her. Really, really beautiful colours. I haven't changed a thing, apart from I added the blue background from I can't remember which way round it is. One of them had the background and the other one didn't, so I added it in so both of them got it. And again, I love the medallions at the top and the little tiny seahorses there. Absolutely adorable. Really, really cute. And this one I just used the Mill Hills that were recommended. She's really pretty, and the anchor and the net are all really sparkly because they're in Krennic. And massive great big Mill Hill size 6 beads, and again there's the medallion at the bottom. Really, really pretty. These are my mission to get these two on the wall. I also added, and again I can't remember which way around it is, whether she has the moon and Bluebeard's doesn't, but I added those little extra little dots on one or the other, I can't remember which, so they look very similar. So yeah, so that's her. I have seen a conversion. I'm quite tempted to have a go at stitching it, a sort of pinky blue conversion, which I absolutely adore. So that might be a project for me later on. Next one. Aha, right, okay, I'm going to have to turn this one so you can see it. This one is one of my prized, I'm just trying to think of the best way to do this so you can see it, one of my prized possessions. It is my round robin from the Mirabella Retreat and the UK version. I'll show you in bits because I think doing it this way is going to be quite tricky. So I stitched the first piece, and it's the pixie, and then my 5 other dear friends stitched the rest. And I'm just so in love with it. It's on Opal Belfast. And it is just, oh, I just get out and have a look at it every so often because it is so lovely. And I think that's Fern at the end. Everyone just had their free reign, a free choice of pixies, and they stitched pretty much what they liked. I'm just trying to get as high as I can so you can see this. Yeah, so definitely one of my big prize possessions, that one. The next one is Siren and the Shipwreck. You can tell I like mermaids. So this is Siren and the Shipwreck. She is, oh, I'm just going to move it. She is stitched, colours as charted, but I like to be pretty thrifty, so I switched out the water lilies in her tail just for DMC variegated. I don't think it looks too bad. There isn't a huge amount of variegation in the water lilies, so they came out well. The other thing that I changed, oh, and this one's on Sparkly's fabric, Aquarius, which is a gorgeous turquoise, but you can't really see it here. I also switched out the beads on the chandelier, only because I had a necklace from my grandmother, and sadly she's no longer with us. And I knew that I'm not kind of a jewellery sort of person in that respect. They were quite dramatic pieces, and I thought I'm probably never going to wear them in that form. So I dismantled one, and I hope I won't get in too much trouble. I dismantled one and used the beads for her chandelier. So it's hopefully will be out on display more than it would have been. I was going to stitch her skin over one, but bottled it. But again, I think she looks pretty good. And I love the blues, and again these beads were just what I had in my stash, and sort of made it up as I went along really, which was good. So that's Siren. Next one, only a few more. Well done for sticking it this long. This one is Titania, and again this is Sparkly's. I think it's Elven Forest. I'll have to have a look and check on that one. With Titania, I stitched her dress as charted, and then made a few adaptations to her wings because I wasn't sure about the yellow on this fabric. So I switched them out. I used white petite treasure braid in a sort of rainbow purple colour. I used the same family of purples that are in her ribbons on her dress, and a silver blending filament. And I switched the beads in her sort of arm bits on her dress, just to sort of a pale pink. And again I switched the beads in her wings out for sort of crystal lilac and a white. So just a few changes. I had to do a bit more back stitching just to define the wings, but just a few changes, but I think it kind of makes her a bit more coordinated, as it were. So yes, she's on a very pale green. The light in here sort of is a greeny browny sort of colour, more green than brown though. Okay, so that's her. Last view. This is Forest Goddess, and this is stitched on a piece of Harvest Blush by Silk Weavers Even Weave. This is one of those ones that really the pack photo doesn't do her justice at all. She is really, really pretty. The greens and the pinks are wonderful. Again, I use mainly recommended beads, but I swapped out a few just for what I had, so I wanted to use them up. And again, the bicones are from my stash. And I love her little belt and all the little sort of treasures that are in her hair, which are great as well. And she's got green eyes, which is nice. So again, this one's really beady. It's got a lovely sort of berry garland all the way down both sides, and she's got the berries around her head. Oh, I did actually change the berries a little bit because they were all one colour, and I thought, oh no, she needs blackberries and raspberries, so I gave her both. So there's that one. The next one is Petal Fairy. This is a conversion in pinks and purples by the very clever Samantha Porter, who goes under Samantha Stitches, I think, on the Mirabella bulletin board. I changed the flower and made it a bit of a raspberry ruffle colour, and I also added in, I don't know if you can see it on this, but I also added in lots of beads on the flower as well, just to make it a little bit more defined and a bit more interesting. She got beads there, and then Sam converted her dress and added in the purple beads, and then in her skirt as well. I think it's 3363 and 761 if I remember rightly. Her skirt has got lots of pretty pink crystals, and again very dark purple beads in her bodice. And this one kind of fits for Titania. That was the idea, so that I could hang the pair of them together at some point. Although there is Bliss Fairy, and I quite like that, so I might have to stitch that one too, because that kind of goes with Petal, doesn't it? Last one. Oh no, last two. This one is really creaks because I haven't washed it and ironed it yet. This is Rain Goddess, one of the new Black Forest Pixies. Well, I say new, it's probably been out a year now, maybe even 2. On natural linen. I'm finding I either go for really neutral or really pastel fabrics. I'm going to stitch all of the Black Forest on the same colour. I've never known a small design have so many beads. I don't know if you can see that. The bugles, the magnificas, and then loads of Krennic as well. I don't know about you, but I have about 12 skeins of Umbria water lilies because so many of Nora's designs seem to use it, and I only ever use the green bits rather than the brown bits, although this was the first design I actually just used the skein as it came off because I like the green but I'm not sure about the brown, but actually here it works really, really well. So that's Rain Goddess. And last but not least, and this one's a bit of a celebrity because she's on the Pole Stitches website. This one is Lily of the Woods, and this is on a bit of Pole Stitches fabric from a grab bag. Totally potluck that this is what I chose and it worked. I stitched it exactly as charted, including all the beads and treasures. Had to order those from 123 Stitch because there were just such a big variety, and also the beads and treasures, and the ones at the bottom of her dress just there were really hard to come by, and you could buy them at so-and-so in the UK, but they were like £2 for 2, so it started to get really, really expensive really quickly. She's got some really beautiful little blossoms with tiny little leaves on, and her wings are Krennic. Lots and lots of Krennic, which is great. Very, very sparkly. She's got such a pretty face, this one. And as you can see, you've got the blossoms there as well. So really, really love her. And again, the pack photo, it just doesn't look anything like this, and it's such a shame because it's exactly how it's charted. So there you go. That is all of my Mirabella finishes and my one and only Chatelaine. As I go and visit people who have got other finishes of mine, I will endeavour to take some photos and put them on my blog. Hope you've enjoyed having a little look. Any questions about individual projects, just shout and I'll try and answer them as best I can. Thank you.